Your spreadsheets are ugly? That's what Brent, the newly hired VP of Finance, declared just moments before he deleted 8 weeks of my meticulous work. He had only been at the company for 3 months, fresh from a merger and full of an unearned confidence. He reeked of cologne and entitlement, like an MBA student who still thinks Axe body spray is a sophisticated choice. As he stood over my desk, he had the gall of a golden retriever making eye contact while it pees on your rug. I defended my work, stating that my spreadsheets were clean, accurate, and footnoted. But I knew it was useless. "We'll lose the room," he declared, as if that were a valid excuse. He complained my work was too dense and that we needed narrative, not numbers. Brent wasn't interested in internal reconciliation or audit compliance. He wanted a dramatic story. He wanted an emotional arc, not the cold, hard facts. I should have walked out right then and there. Instead, I watched as he systematically dismantled my work, deleting source notes, backup tabs, and crucial formulas. He replaced my carefully constructed data with cherry-picked figure-solve flash and no substance. They looked great on the surface, but would fall apart the moment a real analyst looked at them. A quick interruption from our sponsor before we continue. A quick word. It's a shame that 97% of you are just listening without subscribing. That's like reading my spreadsheet and skipping the footnotes. You're missing the crucial details. Please hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It's free. It helps more than you know, and it keeps us motivated to keep sharing this corporate gossip. Now, back to Brent. The setup. I had been at this company for 8 years, starting as a junior analyst when our data was just a messy Google Drive folder. I knew these numbers intimately. They weren't just data points, they were a comprehensive defense. My third quarter forecasts had been cross-referenced with procurement, operations, and compliance. It was so detailed it could put a CPA to sleep, and I was proud of every single line. But Brent craved something more sensational. I watched, clenching my jaw, as he created his Frankenstein monster of a spreadsheet. It was filled with flashy charts, unrealistic growth assumptions, and rounded projections that lacked any logical backup. It was perfect for a dimly lit boardroom, but was, in reality, a lawsuit waiting to happen. "Don't worry," he said without looking up. "No one reads the footnotes." That was the moment I realized I would be the scapegoat when this all went south. It was definitely going south. As a rational woman in corporate America, when you're handed the steering wheel of the Titanic by a man who thinks icebergs are a myth, you save everything. I meticulously backed up my version of the file complete with formulas and timestamps and saved it in our version-controlled folder. I emailed an audit-locked PDF to my personal account and even printed a hard copy for my desk drawer. When someone is this arrogant, they don't just fail. They fail spectacularly and try to take you down with them. The warning sign Z. Next morning, he presented his version to the CFO, a simplified financial narrative. The CFO didn't react, likely too exhausted to care. However, the chief technology officer CTO narrowed his eyes at one detail. Profit margins were up 18% quarter over, despite a 12% spike in raw material costs. When the CTO asked if the numbers were confirmed, Brent dismissively claimed, "Projections are dynamic." I kept my mouth shut and my expression neutral, but my stomach was doing slow cartwheels. I wasn't going to sink with this fool's ship. I just needed to let it sail far enough for everyone to see the iceberg it was heading for. Later that day, I noticed my original forecast file had vanished from the shared finance folder, replaced by Brent's final version. It was a chaotic mess, stripped of all source notes, raw data, and crucial formulas. It was all vibes and pie charts that looked like they were made by a 7th grader. I didn't rage or scream. I simply sat for 10 silent minutes, my blood turning to ice. And then I got to work. I recovered my original version from the recycled Bina simple but foolish mistake on his part and saved it again with a full audit trail. I exported a PDF with all the formulas visible and blind copied my personal email as an extra layer of insurance. This was a battle of evidence, not volume. As a final touch, I sent a Slack message to myself with the audit control number. It looked like a random thought, but it was a breadcrumb that would lead anyone searching for anomalies straight to my version. These numbers weren't just for an internal meeting. They were going to shareholders. There would be a public call and analysts would be scrutinizing every detail. Brent was gambling with the company's future like it was monopoly money. He added wildly optimistic growth assumptions and shaved down operational losses. That afternoon, I overheard him on a Zoom call bragging, "Nobody cares if they're 100% accurate. They just have to look tight," as if financials were an Instagram filter. That night, I knew the fallout would be public and ugly, but I was prepared. I had my version, my logs, and no intention of saying a word until his house of cards began to crumble. The dry run meeting was scheduled for the next morning. Brent arrived late, smug, and carrying a cold brew. He plugged in his laptop and began to present his Q3 narrative, a corporate word salad that only impressed people who don't actually read the slides. The CFO seemed disengaged, but the CTO was paying close attention. He questioned the 18% profit margin increase, remembering that raw material costs had risen. Brent interrupted me, calling my details weeds and trying to move on. The CTO made a mental note but said nothing. This is the way these rooms work. People nod, they make notes, and the damage is swept under the rug for later. Brent's numbers on operational efficiency didn't align with my data. As I quietly cross-referenced his claims with my own spreadsheet, he told me to hold questions until the end and then, with a condescending grin, said, "Let the adults talk." The room grew uncomfortable, but no one intervened. I simply smiled, nodded, and said nothing. After the meeting, I saved his latest deck, noting that the changes weren't just optimistic, they were fabricated. I documented every inconsistency and forwarded the deck to myself, creating a clear audit trail. This wasn't paranoia. It was documentation. Brent's confidence in false data was a ticking time bomb. The final pieces too, days before the shareholder call. I found myself outside the legal department. My mentor, Mark Sloan, was alone in his office. I went in and casually brought up a hypothetical situation. What if someone presented misleading financials to shareholders? Mark quickly clarified, "You mean fraudulent." He explained that the person who signed off on the numbers would be held accountable. I confirmed that my name was nowhere on Brent's version. My leverage was now solidified. Brent's ego had led him to remove my name entirely, wanting all the credit for himself. This meant that if everything exploded, I would be clean. When I asked if legal would get involved, Mark said yes, but only if my fingerprints were on the file. I walked away, feeling a calm certainty. I didn't need to warn Brent. I had done my due diligence and documented everything. It was time to let him have his spotlight. The call began, Brent wearing his usual tight navy suit and an insincere smile opened with, "We're excited to walk you through our exceptional third quarter performance." He claimed revenue beat expectations and that margins improved due to strategic sourcing initiatives, which I knew was just a fancy way of saying he'd deleted freight costs and ignored inflation. As I monitored the call, my phone began buzzing with alerts. Our company's stock was plummeting. Analysts were questioning the inconsistent margin trends, and our internal finance group chat was in a full-blown panic. Brent kept talking, a man tap dancing on a minefield, until the stock dropped 15% and the live stream was cut. The call ended abruptly. Slack became a war zone, with the executive channel lighting up with messages from legal, compliance, and PR. I waited for the chaos to peak. Then, in the main finance channel, I calmly posted, sharing my original Q3 forecast submitted last Tuesday for compliance continuity. File includes audit trail timestamp changelog. Let me know if additional clarification is needed. I attached the real file, the one Brent had deleted, the one I had meticulously protected. The CTO, who was upstairs during the call, walked past my desk. He paused, stared at my screen, and simply pointed at it. His trembling finger said more than any words ever could. He knew, and soon everyone else would too. Reactions and comments flooded the Slack channel. The CFO sent me a direct message asking for a quick call. I replied, happy to walk through it line by line. That was the line that sealed it. It was too late for bluffs or excuses. The evidence was right there for everyone to see. The Slack storm didn't die down. It evolved into a full-blown information triage. I was inundated with messages from legal, compliance, and even the CEO's admin. At 10:30 a.m., I joined a confidential Zoom call with the CEO, the CFO, senior counsel, and the audit lead. Brent was notably absent. I calmly shared my screen and, slide by slide, showed them every discrepancy. I presented the inflated revenue, the deleted freight surcharges, the falsified expenses, and the fabricated savings. I didn't editorialize or gloat. I just presented the facts with timestamps and version history showing my name had been removed the day Brent took over. Did Brent ever request your